Hi, I'm Marcus.
And I'm Cassandra Jordan.
And this is Just Respected,
a podcast guided by truth.
And our mission is to reach anyone that is feeling lost and confused, needing clarity and understanding. So we pray this podcast blesses you, and if you like it, please subscribe below. And welcome back, Just Respected family. How are y'all doing today?
Welcome back.
How are you doing today, love?
I'm alright. How are you?
Doing good.
Good.
Guys, real fast, if y'all have not done so, please hit that like and subscribe button so y'all can be up to date with all the things that we got going on here at Just Respected. And good news, coming into the New Year's, we're actually going to have our website back up so y'all can go in there and order and purchase all your Just Respected merchandise and be up to date with all that fun stuff.
Sounds good.
Yep. So, what's on your mind? What's the topic tonight?
Well, I was thinking, since we spoke about discipline last week, we could probably touch on insecurities this week, because I just feel like that's something that
we all struggle
everyone tends to struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you think? You want to go with insecurities today?
Yeah, that's a good place to start, because we all struggle with insecurities, and a lot of our insecurities festered and they shown itself at our childhood.
So that's where you would
That's
say
what
that.
I say. I would start off with insecurities and understanding where that played a part.
Okay.
And
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just really right now trying to think back to the first time I really felt insecure about something.
Mm-hmm.
It could be in where I remember like trying out for sports or trying out for like a rec team. I mean, not a rec team, but like a travel team.
Yeah.
And you are you're starting to come around. Like, it's like when you're around all your friends in your neighborhood, you're the best person playing that sport. Like, you can beat everybody around you. But it's like when you come in contact with someone that is from a different area, a different school, but they're as equally as good as you or even better.
Yeah.
Your insecurities may come in and be like, okay, well, I'm not good enough to play on this team or play at this level or compete at this level because of the talent that I'm now facing. For some people, a lot of insecurities will make them give up and quit, and then a lot of times insecurities make you push through it. Like, yeah. I'm not gonna let that be my handicap, my crutch.
So what happened to you in your childhood that you feel like kind of kick-started that sense of insecurity?
Oh man, a number of things. Early on, I went to a predominantly white school where I was like the only black kid there, so I was a token black. So there's a lot of things where we're just trying to grasp and understand, okay, let me see. That's a really good question. Come back to me. How about you?
How about you? I don't know, I guess I would say mine, of course, started in childhood. I still remember the day it happened. Well, I don't remember the exact day, but I remember where it happened. This was in New York, after school, and public school up there is very different. Our playgrounds up there do not look like the playgrounds at school out here, but needless to say, there was this group of girls in my class that I wanted to be friends with. I was probably like maybe in kindergarten, and it was just so weird because like even now looking back at it, I was just like, why did I feel the way I did? Maybe just because I was a kid, but they told me I couldn't hang out with them because I didn't have enough attitude. So as a child, I felt like I just wasn't accepted for who I was as I am. And that sense of insecurity kind of followed me into friendships moving forward, where sometimes I felt like I had to watch my tongue, like where I felt like I couldn't say things that I feel like I wanted to say, or I couldn't be who I feel like I wanted to be for that fear of not being accepted by friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, I mean, that was where my insecurity in friendships kind of started.
Kind of rise. I remember that too, even in, along with that, the piggyback off of that. You remember growing up in like middle school and you had to like change out for
gym,
PE?
Oh my gosh.
A lot of insecurities came there too, where it's like, okay, getting and dressed in front of your peers. That was tough, especially because kids are immature. Kids, they tease, they pick and they point out everything. They don't get nothing past you. So it was that, and then also growing up as a teenage boy, like hearing my mom yell at me for cleaning up my room, or oh my gosh, why do your room smell the way it smells? You know, all teenage boys go through that stage where we just cannot help or really get our body odors under control, under check. But it was funny because I would end up going back to school and we'll end up having like PE, and we all got to do it. And for some reason, I always had PE early in the morning, and so all the guys they would spray on that Axe body spray. I'm talking about they'll cake it on,
Ooh,
and
yeah,
it was more so too because it's like the understanding part of it is. For a kid, they're just like, okay, I don't understand why I'm sweating so much, but I'm about to put on all this cologne and perfume or whatever it is to take the smell away. But overall, like, you can't hide must. And so that was like an insecurity because, you know, like, it's even like, okay, to equate to someone saying, oh my gosh, do my breath stink? Like, it's like your own personal body odor. Like, that could be an insecurity. Where you just be like, okay, let me just stay clear.
I hope I don't smell, or I hope, like, I mean, of course. I mean, I feel like there's, like, little bits of insecurities, like, in everything. Whether it comes, like, being picked last, when it comes to, like, group sports. Like, you know, remember when you had to pick teams or be, like, captain.
I never had that issue, per se, of being picked last.
We're not necessarily talking about us, we're just talking about, like, you know, certain situations.
In general.
That can kind of spark insecurity or being left out or, you know, being like, there's lots of things, or, you know, just not really, I don't know. Go ahead.
Another thing that we don't really think about is the insecurities that we take from our parents. Like, say for instance, let's say you have a parent that doesn't like riding roller coasters. So their fear of that roller coaster, or say you have a parent that don't like to swim, their fear of the pool may now trickle on to the kid because they like, okay, I see you as my hero. Now my hero is scared. Okay, I ain't gonna do it either.
I mean, I get where you're coming from. Like, you're trying to tie insecurities into fear. Yeah.
Right.
I definitely
Well, I mean, fear and insecurities do go with hell in it.
Yeah.
Because your insecurities can make you fearful and make you not want to take on the opportunity.
Like, hold you back.
Right.
So, yeah, I definitely agree. I think that's very true. But I also feel like sometimes insecurities can also help us to be more empathetic to others, too. Like, sometimes what I realize, like, my sense of insecurity of being left out, which, I mean, of course I've gotten over that now as an adult, but making sure other people don't feel left out, like always trying to include other people, just because sometimes you don't know what you do or what you say, how that may stem an insecurity, like, in somebody else, like, how you can kind of start that. But I don't know, I just feel like every day you just kind of got to tackle your insecurities day in and day out.
Yeah, you got to tackle them head on. It's something you got to push through, but it's like, yeah, your insecurities can hold you back a lot, especially if it's like, let's take it further past just childhood. Say it's about you getting ready to graduate, come out of school, you're trying to figure out which college I want to go to, or you graduate in college and you're trying to figure out which career you want to go into. But a lot of times we may feel like we're not qualified in certain areas that God has probably placed us and have groomed us to be in. I know for myself, early on in our marriage, as you were finishing up your nursing degree, I went to my first grown-up job or corporate job. And what was so crazy as I go in there, I'm meeting like, it was a call center, but I'm meeting grown adults and I'm meeting like kids, probably guys my age or females my age. But the thing of it is, they all had like a degree, or they had all these accolades, or they had this senior title or this going on. And the previous job I'm just now coming from, I'm leaving finish line. So I'm coming from working a retail job to working my first grown-up job, and I'm feeling like, okay, I don't belong here at all. And it was so crazy because every single thing that led up for me, even going through that interview process to even getting the job, it was literally all God. It was literally nothing I did. It was the person that interviewed me was a person that I watched her kid as a child care counselor.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like she knew me from a different season that didn't even have to do with this particular career. But so it's just like God will put you somewhere where He already says you're qualified, but we will already discredit ourselves, or even say if we don't discredit ourselves, we will end up saying it in a different way. we'll say like, okay, hey guys, say, all right, on the same topic of working, they come to you and say, hey, we want you to take on this project. We need you to do, or we need you to do this presentation. We need you to stand up and do this and present. And this could be your first opportunity to do this. You may discredit yourself by saying, hey, if I mess up, it's my first time, or don't
So
expect,
don't hold it against you.
yeah, don't expect so much out of me. But it was so it's crazy because my younger sister, she told me this, and in her experience, she said that as she's finishing up med school, she's doing her rounds. One of the other doctors told her, these patients don't know today was your first day.
Yeah.
So even when you go into a room, people don't know you from what you already been through. They're trying to get to know you. So from this point on, you can pretty much write the book on how they perceive you.
Yeah, because I mean, insecurities can also stem from, like you said, like that fear of just not wanting to mess up or anything like that. But I mean, yeah, sometimes people put up a good veil over their insecurities, I would say. But I also feel like there's like different levels of insecurities, kind of like what you're talking about, like how you kind of have like those childhood insecurities and kind of transitions into like young adulthood, and then adulthood is like, throughout life stages. Different insecurities kind of flourish because there's those different stages in your life. Like I know in college, like a lot of us were struggling with trying to find your purpose. Like, well, what am I doing? What did I go to college for? Like, all sorts of things. But yeah, I mean, whew.
And those days were very different because those college years, you do a lot of comparison. You do a lot of looking at what the next person is doing, or, well, I made this on the test and I studied, y'all didn't study all night, y'all partied all night, and here it is, I didn't. It's stuff like that we'll always compare, or it's like, but we'll use our insecurities as like a coping mechanism, like, I'm not going to go all the way. I'm not going to show all my skills or talents or be outgoing and verbal because I don't know how people may perceive me or think about me. Yeah. So it's just like, okay.
Kind of hold yourself back.
Yeah, you're going to be stay guarded.
Yeah. No, that's true. I forgot what I was about to say when you were talking.
Oh yeah, it's going to come back to you.
You know how my memory is like, how my thoughts flee so quickly.
But yeah,
it's crazy how like that fear, like you said, will kind of keep you from doing something. But then it's also like, okay, let me try and push past this insecurity. Let me try and do this. And then if you fail, it's also like, well, dang, like I already knew I was going to be good at this, and I tried anyway. And it just kind of furthers, to deepen that insecurity that you have in that certain area.
How was it for you that first year when you were coming straight out of college into nursing, like going?
Like working as a nurse?
Graduating, going straight into nursing. How did you feel like your insecurities played a role in that season?
Oh, they were amplified. Because for one, you don't want anyone to think you're incompetent. And then I work with kids, so you not only have to deal with kids and kind of alleviate their fears, you have to deal with parents and alleviate their fears. Like, can you imagine like going into these rooms and you're like, oh, I'm here to take care of your very sick child. I'm very new. I don't know exactly everything that I'm doing, but hey, I got my degree. Because a lot of times like what you learn in school is textbook, but once you actually get into the real world, it's different. But that sense of insecurity, oh my gosh, like I remember I would go in the rooms and I tried to do everything by the book, but I was forgetting to be personable because I didn't want them to know I was new, or like I didn't know what I was doing, because it was that sense of insecurity. So if a parent yelled at you or whatever, I would just like, man, like here it goes again, like I'm just never good at this, I can't do this right. It's just kind of like what my mom said, like I'm never going to be good at anything I do, and it's just kind of like, it digs into those wounds a little deeper. But I would say just gaining your confidence. And what I realized in that insecurity as working as a new nurse, that the more knowledge I gained and the more advanced I became in my skills, the less those insecurities plagued me. So I worked to address those insecurities so that I could be the best nurse that I could be.
I like what you said too, even to that point too, because a lot of times our insecurities could be very internal, where we could be having a conversation with someone, say if we're struggling with something, and we're trying to like self-fix it, self-diagnose it. There's a lot of times where our insecurities may come out onto someone else in a conversation. If me and you're having a conversation and I'm not necessarily trying to hear and understand what you're saying, but I'm just waiting to hear you say the part of the conversation that agrees with where I'm already thinking. So it's just like, okay, I'm trying to fix an issue that doesn't necessarily have nothing to do with you, but I'm tunnel vision. So as long as I'm going through life and I'm having conversations, I can then like, okay, say if you say a comment and then I assume something like,
yeah. So it's like I'm portraying my insecurities
Yeah.
on you, because those insecurities lead to me making assumptions like, oh, you
right,
didn't respond to me, so you must not like me because maybe I did this, or
right.
you, yeah, just like I completely
It's like your
get what you're
insecurities
saying.
can allow you to play mind and play tricks on yourself.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
they can really mess with you. Sometimes, people may just like, but what is wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
Because like you remember like that one thing, like I still do to this day, and I try not to, is like that whole I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying like excuse me if I accidentally bump into somebody, like I'm sorry for everything. And I met this one, she's my director now. She's like, Cecilia, she's like, I'm gonna need for you to just stop saying sorry for everything. She's like, you don't need to be like, what are you sorry for?
Mm-hmm.
You have nothing to apologize for. But that was like that sense of security where I always feel like I'm always messing up. I'm always doing something wrong, so it's my fault. Let me just go ahead and own the blame. So I'm sorry. That was my fault. If somebody knocks into me, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Like, but it wasn't even my fault. It was
Right.
your fault. You didn't watch where you were going. But for me, I'm just like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Because I think with that too, it's like I'll be the bigger person before you even.
In your mind, you would think
Right.
that, but that for me is coming from more of a place of insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how I could be like portrayed differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like our insecurities can really. It's not like nothing that's always something that's like fresh. It can always be like a previous wound.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, like if you feel like you were never good enough growing up, it's like if you make mistakes now, how can I give myself grace and understand like no, like you're doing a great job.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's like we're so we will hound ourselves and put ourselves down before we build ourselves up. I thought about even to a point to where insecurity kept me from opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
kept me in my whole decision making of like what I wanted to do coming out of school.
Yeah.
And growing up, I think I told you this story before. Growing up, I did. I love to sing. I love music. I love anything music, instruments, whatever. But I remember growing up and doing talent shows, being in school choirs, doing in church choirs and stuff like that. But I went to this page where my voice changed, where puberty hit, and I remember one of my classmates. We were doing rehearsals and stuff like that, but. She made a comment, which is now, what you look back on it, was very innocent comment because that's what you're perceiving when you hear.
Mm-hmm.
She was just like, I don't really like how he sounds when he sings because it sounds like he's singing out of his nose, like he sounds nasally. See, your first inspection is to be like, it's like, oh, it's insulting.
Offended, yeah.
But ultimately understanding, like now that I got older, is like I understand what you mean.
It's almost like when we were watching Martin the other night, and that guy was like, "Oh my gosh, your voice." Right,
it's so
Sorry,
squeaky.
completely
But yeah. But similar to that. But it was just the fact that like you can let someone's words now bring in a seed of insecurity within you, and now you just start believing what someone else said. But it's just like don't let that stop you. Just because they said it, that was just their own opinion. But for people that don't understand that, or because it's so easy for us to get into our emotions when things happen to us, is our first instinct is to react emotionally.
Yes.
And it's so crazy because the more and more I grow and mature, the Lord tells us to be slow to our emotions, but quick to understand.
Yes.
So with that,
but are we though?
Right, we're not. But that's the grace that you got to walk in every day.
Yes.
So if I was at a grocery store and somebody cut me in line and I went off emotionally, I got ticked off. Okay, I didn't do so good today. But tomorrow is a brand new day.
Yeah.
So that means, okay, let me work on my emotions. Let me not be so quick to just get angry. But even in our marriage, there's some times where me and you may be in a disagreement. But there's a lot of times where I'll just sit back and I'll really be saying in a prayer in my head, like, Lord, please allow me to understand what she's trying to say. We keep going back and forth. Neither one of us is trying to get the point. Or if we keep going back and forth and we both saying the same thing.
Why did we do that?
We do it all the time. But it's just the more so I've been
We
realizing
say it differently.
we do say it differently, and that's more so how we think and how we process things. But a lot of times when someone is not getting, like, you don't repeat yourself multiple times, you're now frustrated. And now with my frustration, my tone of voice can now change. But it's just like, okay, it got to be something else. They're not seeing it. Lord, intervene. Intervene. Or just be like, okay, well, it's not enough for me to get irritated with you about.
Yeah.
Let me just go on to the next thing.
But when you were talking about that, back when you were in school and that girl, when she made that comment about your nasally voice, this was around the time that you were really into singing, right? And
oh yeah, that was my passion.
so did that kind of affect you, like the whole thing with the talent show too? Because I remember that I wasn't there, but
it did.
The girls who I was friends with back then made sure that I saw
The talent show.
that video.
Yeah.
And honestly, it just made me love you even more. I was like, "Aw, he's so cute."
Yeah. For reference purposes, I sung Brian McKnight back at one. I was in the 8th grade, and it was so crazy. That's why I say it changed the trajectory of what my decision makings were. Because you got to remember, coming into 8th grade, going into high school, we had to like pick our classes, pick your electives. And so my electives have always been the same from 6th grade all the way up. Like I pretty much knew what it was I liked to do and where I was happy with. But hearing her say that, then I'm in this talent show, and it's in. I mean, we're at the Gwinnett Civic Center. We're on a big stage, and then my voice cracked on the stage. Yeah, it kind of like, okay, I'm not gonna do chorus next year. I'm done with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me just stick to sports. Let me just stick to basketball. That's basically how my mind then went. It was like,
Kind of changed.
It did.
But had that not played a role in your insecurity, you probably would have tried to hone in on that skill and try to.
What it did, because time is never lost. Just because we make a decision that we don't ever should feel like time is lost. What it did was it pushed me into my purpose of being a public speaker, of being able to speak to rooms, being on stage, being able to stand up in front of people. It's like the same thing as a singer that has a solo. You're still standing up in front of people, but you're not speaking. You're portraying it in psalms. You know what I'm saying? Like you're doing it in a different way, but all eyes are on you type thing. And so I mean, it kind of geared me up for that. But no time is ever lost. Like
That's true.
I still sing on the daily. I play the instrument. So it just it's not what I plan, but it doesn't go as my plan. It's God's plan. So
very true.
You know how that is. You know how that goes.
Of course. But I will say though, that's one thing that I feel like with my insecurities, I am trying to lean more into God, and when I am faced with those insecurities, just pray to God for guidance. And
I like that part what you just said too.
Because He's made us how He wants us to be.
On to that note,
but I am still working.
I just thought about that because even with that, we was talking about our 20s, growing into that age of trying to even saying you got to do it with God. My insecurities had me struggling with my identity in my mid-20s. Really, like, I mean, I don't know for our viewers or for you that's listening, when they hit to that point where you hit the milestones in your life where everybody's looking towards, my 16th birthday or my 21st birthday, my 25th birthday. When you hit your 25th birthday, there's really no big birthday.
See, for me, it was after I hit 21, I was like,
Right.
I hit the last most important.
But I mean, because the 20,
because in your mind, like as a kid, you're like, once you hit 21, you're like, you're really considered an adult.
Right.
Like, you can do. Oh, but then when you're 25, you can rent cars, right?
Right. Well, 25 is your quarter century, so it's just more so after a quarter, and then you got to think about. We always heard about the top 25 list. Like after you hit that 25, it's just you've always figured out, well, what's next? What's the next big thing that I'm looking forward to? And I realized, okay, nothing is really next. You pretty much gotta go out and make those opportunities, or really, strive to and work at something.
Yeah.
And so I think I fell into this thing where I wasn't my weight goals was not where I wanted to be. It was just more so, and I was working at a job where just like I kind of just felt like, why am I here? I'm just doing a task. It's not really what I want to do in life. Um, and then one person asked me, one of my coworkers asked me one day, if you died tomorrow, how do you want people to receive you? Random question, but it's just like, how would you want people to talk about you if you were dead, but you can see, you could be at your funeral and you can see what everybody's saying. And I thought about it for a while. I mean, I don't even think I told you about it during this time, but I thought about it for a while, and I remember around this time Travis Green had his second album come out, and he had this song called I think he says "Daddy's Home," where he says. No worries, son. I was at your ball game, sister, daughter.
Yeah.
I was at your graduation. I was always there. He's like, you find your identity in me. Everything that you are looking for and asking for, you find it in me. And during that time, I was doing a lot of serving where I was going to, we was at 12 Stone, and I was serving in the high school ministry, serving at the front new members tent, and it was just like, I'm doing all this work, but I still don't know. But it was literally until I really started making time with him, intentionally searching him, doing things that was not gonna bring myself any enjoyment, but I'm doing it to help other people. He really started showing me my purpose, and I realized a lot of my insecurities about myself started like really dwindling and fading away. Things that I used to always just proclaim over myself, I stopped saying. I started living in a different light. It just like everything about you shift, and it was so crazy because for me to say everything about me shift, people that I came in contact with started saying, "Bro, something about you is different," and I love that. I mean, that's basically what I'm just basically saying that for anyone that's dealing with so much insecurities and so much things within themselves. That's usually that for me. That's what happened, and it changed my life, guys. We love you guys, but until next time, remember to walk in faith, never lose hope, live in love, it's just perspective.